Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 173, Friday, August the 25th, 2017. Thank you so much for tuning in. Alrighty, let's get right to it. And I'll try not to get angry because it is Friday after all. I try not to get angry on Fridays. Let's see how I do. Okay, about a week or so ago, I reported that there was a rumor going around on a few of the blogs and a few internet sites, a little bit on YouTube, that Hillary Clinton had been offered a plea deal and that she had refused. At that time, there was no real good source for that. But right now, we finally have a source coming out, and it's someone who has pretty much credibility. I'm talking about Ed Klein. Of course, he is the former editor of Newsweek, a former editor at New York Times, and he has now penned a story for Newsmax where he states that the Reverend Rotten Clinton, her attorneys were offered a plea bargain, and Hillary Clinton turned it down. So now we have Ed Klein. I don't know if he was the original source of this story, but now we have Ed Klein. Now Ed Klein is he's kind of a blowhard, a self-promoter, that type of thing, but he is connected. He's a smart guy, and he's usually pretty accurate. You hear him a lot on Sean Hannity and people like that. He's kind of connected to the Republican establishment. He's kind of gone to the other side a little bit in the last year or so. I think he's a Trump supporter. But nevertheless, Ed Klein, if Ed Klein says it, it's probably got some credibility to it because he's a pretty connected dude. So he is saying that, in fact, they did offer Clinton's attorneys some sort of a plea bargain agreement. Now, if you read further into this, it also states that as part of the agreement, they would have agreed if she would plead guilty. I'm not sure what she had to plead guilty to, but if she would plead guilty, that they would not press charges. Not only that, they would not investigate any further into the pay-for-play in the Clinton Foundation. Now, this is extraordinary if this is actually true, this part of it, because this is what drives people absolutely insane. This is exactly what drives people nuts. It's this double standard that, and in this particular case, it's blaring. I mean, it's in your face. It's you can't. You can't resist it. Now, the way a plea bargain normally works is you have enough evidence on someone who's committed a crime that you can go ahead and bring charges against them. But maybe there's other people involved and you're still investigating that, or maybe you have some unresolved questions in the investigation and you would like to get the answers to those questions. And so you go to the person and you say, hey, we've got enough evidence right now to charge you, and it's our intention to do so. But we think there's other people that may be involved, and we're working on that investigation. But if you'd be willing to, number one, admit your guilt, and number two, cooperate with us to help us to bring the investigation to a close, which means possibly giving us information about other people who may have been involved in the crime, or giving us information or details that may help us tie up the loose ends that we're now working on, because it's costing us money to conduct this investigation. If you can help us bring this investigation to a close, we will work on giving you a lightened sentence, a lesser sentence. We will cooperate with you if you cooperate with us. This is typically what a plea bargain is about. It's a bargain. What this is saying, if this is true, to give you an analogy, this is like going to someone who you've just found to be the person who robbed the First National Bank down on the corner, and you call him in as the district attorney and you say, yeah, well, we've got you on video, we've got 3 eyewitnesses, and we got the license plate number of your getaway car. We've got overwhelming evidence that you robbed the bank, but we'll make a deal with you. If you'll promise to admit that you robbed the bank, you'll plead your guilt that you robbed the bank, we'll go ahead and drop the charges. This is what they are saying. This is not how it works. I'm trying really, really hard. I'm trying really, really hard to give Attorney General Sessions the benefit of the doubt. Oh, but he's testing my patience. He's testing my patience on a Friday. I'm trying not to get angry. Now, I'll give Attorney General Sessions till the midterms of 2018 to bring some of these criminals to justice. And there's many criminals to bring to justice. There's many crimes to be investigated. He's got until November. I'll give him that much time. And that's going to be very difficult for me because I already have a lot of questions. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But if by November of 2018, the Attorney General has not produced some results and held some people accountable for their crimes, the biggest crime, of course, that he should be looking into is the coup d'etat that's occurring right under his own freaking nose, which he doesn't seem to be aware of. And one of the chief instigators of that is the rotten Reverend, Hillary Locker-up Clinton. But it doesn't appear that Mr. Sessions is all that worked up about it. Maybe he and Slick Willie will get out there on the golf course and hit a few balls. Talk about what they can do. Maybe they can work something out. Maybe they can work something out. But I'll tell you what, people are not in a good mood about this type of thing because this is exactly what drives people nuts. There are individuals who, particularly members of the military, who just took a photograph and happened to be something in the background that shouldn't have been there. One photograph, doing hard labor. Hillary Clinton set up a private server which she knew was against policy. Then she placed thousands of classified emails, including 23 special access programs. This is monumental. James Comey stood right there at the podium and laid out her crimes. And then said he wasn't going to prosecute because she didn't intend to do it. Why, yes, she did. Jim, the server didn't set itself up there by itself. Took Hillary Clinton to do that. It was a premeditated act of putting in that private server and moving all of her work-related emails, which belong to the taxpayers, onto that private server. And then she mishandled classified information thousands of times, including our most top secret programs, SAP. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. We'll keep watching, Mr. Sessions. I'll give you until November. That's all you've got with me. After that, we're done. We are done, sir. From that point on, I will consider you part of the deep state, part of the enemy, and I'll rip your ass daily. Never was happy with you in the very beginning, but I thought, hey, if that's who Trump wants. I mean, Jeff Sessions was there at those rallies. I saw him with his little red hat on, standing there at the podium, listening to all those people chant, "Lock her up." He knows what's going on. Something's going on here, folks. Something is going on. And I don't like it. And I'm sure you don't either. Two relatives of Imran Awan has told the Daily Mail that the Awans will do anything for money. Really? Man, there's a lot more to be learned about this story, and we'll have to see how the Department of Justice deals with this issue. The FBI is involved in this, as I'm sure, as well as the intelligence agencies looking into the situation. They know that he moved information onto a third-party server, paid for by the taxpayers, and it appears that they're quite aware of the fact that the information was shared with someone. Shouldn't be hard to figure out. They've got the servers, but they still haven't gotten around to looking at the DNC server. Still looking for them Russians. It's almost like I live in a parallel universe. It really is. It's just extraordinary. I mean, you have to have a sense of humor about this stuff, or you just go insane. I just start pounding my head against the wall. Literally, it's It's extraordinary. I wish that the president would make me Attorney General just for 1 year. That's all I need. Give me 1 year. Give me 1 year, Mr. President, as Attorney General. I'll solve a lot of your problems. I'll solve a lot of the country's problems. And believe me, when I get done, I'll have these politicians, I'll have them fearing even running a yellow light for fear that I might find out. Believe me, you would see real justice, swift and ferocious. Believe me. Well, it looks like Paul Eddie Munster Ryan, his primary opponent, Paul Nehlen, was busy tweeting this morning, and he tweeted out that Paul Ryan is colluding with Democrats to do a government shutdown over the wall funding. So what we heard, this is based on something that came out yesterday in the AP that Trump was considering. He wants his wall, and he knows they're going to fight him on it. So he was whether or not he's willing to go all the way to a government shutdown to fight that battle. And a lot of people are saying he should. And now we're learning, of course, that Paul Ryan is going to collude with the Democrats themselves. That they want to force the government shutdown over the wall. That they're willing to play that game with Trump. Now, the fact of the matter is, the way that things typically work in a government shutdown fight like this, typically the party in Congress, controlling the Congress, they're the ones that usually lose on this deal. The president usually wins in a government shutdown or breaks even. It's usually the party that controls the House of Representatives that loses on a shutdown deal. So you got to wonder why Eddie Munster would want to go that route. It's almost like Paul Eddie Munster Ryan wants to lose seats in the Congress for his party. It's almost like he wants to fail. He must not have any fear whatsoever that he's going to get voted out. That's where we need to step in and take action, my friends. If there's one race we need to focus on in 2018, it is that race in Wisconsin. Remember, Trump won Wisconsin for the first time since 1988. A Republican carried Wisconsin. It's Paul Ryan's home state. He can't be that popular there. Paul Nehlen. We need to get behind Paul Nehlen, support him, do everything we can to defeat Paul Eddie Munster Ryan. He is the sworn enemy, not just of Trump, but of all of us. Keep that in mind, folks. Trump is not the only target. These rats want to punish you and I and anyone else who voted for or supports Trump. They want to punish us. And they want to punish the whole country as well. It's almost like the teacher who gets hit with a paper wad while she's writing on the chalkboard. So she turns around and asks who threw the paper wad. No one admits it. She gives everyone detention. That's exactly what we have going on here, folks. Do you remember when Paul Ryan told Tucker Carlson, right after Trump was inaugurated, that he had a 200-day plan to move aggressively to pass Trump's agenda? I do. I'm sure you can find that video clip on YouTube. And as I mentioned, Trump did carry Wisconsin, and maybe that's why Paul Ryan said that. Maybe he was in a bit of aftershock the day after the election, realizing that Trump, even though he didn't endorse Trump, doesn't like Trump, he's a never-Trumper, told all the Republicans on a phone call, apparently, according to Louis Gohmert, not to support Trump and to get ready for President Hillary Clinton. It appears that Paul Ryan was a little shaken up afterwards, and so he went out and babbled that nonsense, knowing good and well he was going to do the complete opposite. This guy is literally a rat bastard. If there's anyone that needs to be defeated in 2018, it is absolutely Paul Ryan. So look out, Eddie Munster. We're coming for you in 2018. You'll like this story, especially on a Friday. The Gateway Pundit. Alt-left leader vows to crush skulls at conservative prayer rally with a nail-embedded bat. Now, this particular user on Twitter goes by the handle Prince Jordan. He tweeted this out several times before he finally removed it. Now, his real name is Jordan Towers. Jordan Towers. He describes himself as an alt-left resistance leader, an Iraq war veteran, a Catholic, and a communist. How do these things all fit together? He's an Iraq war veteran, he's a communist, and he's a Catholic? Maybe he is not familiar with the concept that in a communist regime, they generally do not allow you the freedom of religion. Maybe he's not aware that he would not be allowed to practice his Catholic faith in a communist environment. Apparently he doesn't know that. Well, Mr. Towers, you're an asshole. I'm not so sure you are an Iraq war veteran, but if you are an Iraq war veteran, you obviously were too close to a grenade when it went off, and probably you need to be at the VA getting your head checked out because there's something wrong with you. There is something wrong with this particular individual, and just to add further evidence that there's something wrong with this individual, he comes from San Francisco. He's a San Francisco resident and a Nancy Pelosi supporter. Well, you know, I saw this guy's pic. He's standing at a podium in a still pic, getting ready to say something, babbling some nonsense. Guy looks like a real goon. He really does. And so he's got this baseball bat, which he's driven nails into. And he's planning on going to this Republican or this conservative prayer rally. This good Catholic is going to go to a conservative prayer rally and bash people's skulls in. Now, he should be picked up and questioned by police. He certainly should have his Twitter account removed. And if they see this guy, now they got his picture, everyone knows who he is. If they see this guy within 1,000 feet of that particular event, they need to take him down one way or another. We'll see how that works out. Next, a George Soros-funded website is now doing fundraising for the Democrat who fantasized about Trump being assassinated, the Democrat from Missouri, Chappelle Nadell. Now, the lieutenant governor has called for her to be cast out, exiled, thrown out, fired, whatever you want to call it. Now, they have removed her from her committee positions, but as I understand, she still is a member of the Missouri State Senate. She certainly needs to be completely removed from office. And that should have happened within an hour. The fact that it's been a week is just extraordinary, and it just shows you how bad things are. Now, this particular website, where they're attempting to raise money for her, is a website called Act Blue, and it exists primarily as a platform on the internet to raise money. It is funded by George Soros. And this website is typically used to raise money for Democrats. Unbelievable. A judge has now approved a warrant for the government to gather data on subscribers to an Antifa website, which is an Antifa anti-Trump website, which has been used for organizing riots. So they went to a judge, the federal government went to a judge to get a warrant to, I guess, conduct surveillance or do whatever they do to investigate, to get the names of these subscribers to the site and investigate them, I assume. So they now have a warrant to do that investigation. We'll see what turns up. You know, a lot of these Antifa people, they wear the masks, you know, and stuff like that. It makes it hard to identify them, you know. So I guess that's why maybe that they want to seek the warrant. But typically, I mean, I would find it very difficult to believe that they haven't already infiltrated this group. And in fact, we just had the story from a former FBI intelligence guy who said, "Hey, man, we've got people inside." In fact, he even said that he doubted that there would be any consequences for the leaders of any of these groups, because it's very likely that some of the leaders of these groups are actually being paid and are working for the FBI. We also know that the intelligence agencies get involved. There's probably some spooks also involved in this particular group, and we know whose side the spooks are on. They're on the side of Antifa. That's right. That's how bad it is. When I tell you folks that it's Trump, he's surrounded, man. He is literally surrounded. I don't know a single person there he can trust. Not a one. I'd like to think he can trust Sessions, but every day, as the days go by, Sessions gives me more and more reason to question his judgment, his seriousness, and his loyalty. If I were the Attorney General, there would be no question about my judgment, my seriousness, or my loyalty. I can assure you that. If you're watching this video, Mr. President, I'm available. I will serve. Give me 1 year. Give me 1 year. I promise you, you will see serious change. You want change? I'll show you change. Absolutely. So it's really Trump and his supporters, man. That's all it is. Taking on the deep state. It's a hell of a fight we're in. And I keep looking for anyone around Trump that I think would have his back. And there's not a single person I can see. The only guy I could think maybe had his back, the only two guys really, was Flynn and Steve Bannon. And they've been purged. It almost looks like they're taking people down around him one at a time. Who's next? Kellyanne Conway, I think she's been loyal. Does that mean that we can expect that she's going to be gone next? And then who's next? And then who's after that? Until pretty soon there's nothing around Trump. Nothing around him but the men with daggers. It's a serious state of affairs. Jeff the Flake is down 14 points. And now that he realizes that being down 14 points is not a good position to be in, and that he's on the wrong side of history, he is now out there doing a few interviews. He did one with our good friend, the neocon, Brian Kilmeade, who I told you about yesterday. Kilmeade wants to try to, I guess, bring these people together. But as I explained to Mr. Kilmeade, there is no bringing these people together. These people are not interested in working with Trump. They're not interested in moving ahead with the agenda. They're not interested in doing anything for the country. They have only one thing in mind. And that's to take down the president. That's the only thing they have in mind. So now he's down 14 points. He goes and does this interview with Brian Kilmeade, and he starts doing a little bit of backpedaling. Now he's talking like, well, you know, me and the president have some disagreements, but I'm right with him on this and this and this, and we're going to work to try to accomplish this and this and this. No, that's bullshit. He's bullshitting you, Brian, but of course you're an idiot, so you believed it. I didn't believe it, not a single word of it. I tried to watch the interview. I could only watch like 3 minutes of it, and I had to turn it off. I didn't need to watch anymore. I understand what's going on here. Jeff the Flake's down 14 points. We'll see what kind of dirty tricks he and the establishment can come up with against Kelly Ward. And she's not the perfect candidate. I was lukewarm on her. I mean, I was hoping she'd beat John McCain, but she's not, you know, anything spectacular. But at least she does support the president. She says she does. She'd be a hell of a lot better than Flake or McCain, I hope. We have a new Time poll. Guess who is the least popular politician in the entire country? Who is the least popular politician in the entire country? Some of you are now thinking, could it be Trump? Hillary? Obama? Pelosi? Maxine Waters? Who could it be? My friends, according to the new Time poll, the least popular politician in the country, Twitch McConnell. You see, Twitch, it's coming back to bite you in the ass, just I told you it would. I told you to shut up after you did the first press conference. You came out and did another one. Then you tried to get into a tweet battle with Trump. Bad idea, especially when you're so wrong. I mean, if McConnell at least had a fighting position, maybe he could get away with it. But I mean, he literally is just so wrong, and everyone knows it. When you've been such an abysmal failure, such a disaster, you promise to repeal and replace Obamacare for 7 years, and then you come out and prove that you haven't got the slightest clue on how to do it, and you have no plan? Trump didn't have to tweet a thing or say a thing. All he did was point out the obvious, which everybody already knows, which is that McConnell is a deep state swamp monster, swamp creature. I'm sure he's on Mora's list, I believe. And he should be taken out, politically speaking. He should be defeated. Can't get to him to 2020. Unless, of course, he fails in the fall quarter to get anything done, in which case you might have Republicans just calling for his head. The pressure, we need to keep the pressure on. That's just the bottom line. We need to keep the pressure on. It's the only thing we can do. It's all we've got until 2018 and 2020. Remember, we accomplished a great thing by electing Trump. But unfortunately, he's still surrounded by a lot of very bad folks. In 2018 and in 2020, we can drastically change the situation. We can throw out the deep staters, the anti-Trumpers, and we can replace them with some people who will support the president, who are not part of the deep state. We have a golden opportunity, and I certainly hope that we don't pass it up. Finally, we have this hurricane brewing down in the Gulf, Hurricane Harvey. I expect by the time most of you see this video late Friday evening, they're expecting this thing to come to shore. They're talking about 110-mile-an-hour winds, and they're going to measure rainfall in feet. It's a pretty dangerous storm. I don't know if I have any subscribers, viewers, down in that region, down in the Gulf, but having experienced a hurricane close up and personal, let me give you some really good advice. Get out. You know, these storms, when they come into the Gulf like that, they can strengthen. 110-mile-an-hour winds are too much. You know, if it was 80, anything 80, 70, 75, you know, I'd say batten down the hatches, maybe ride it out. 110 miles an hour when it hits shore. If you're anywhere near the coast, even within probably 50 to 75 miles within the coastline inside the Gulf there where it's going to come ashore, get out. Save your life. Do not risk your life trying to save your property. I understand, man, it's tough. I know that you're afraid of getting looted, getting everything blown away, washed away, whatever, but it could be life or death. Please don't take that risk. If you're one of my subscribers or viewers down in the Gulf, there in Texas, in the Gulf of Mexico, be very, very careful. Stay safe. Stay alive. We need you. We need you desperately. And we appreciate you. And again, I appreciate all my supporters, everybody for tuning in. So it's Friday night, so go out and do some bowling, have a few beers, play some cards with your friends, watch a movie, relax, do something, forget about the craziness. It'll still be here on Saturday and Sunday and Monday and for a long time to come. And we'll be covering every bit of it right here on TowerGate. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a good evening, and I'll be back Saturday. And Saturday, I am going to spend probably the first half of the video doing a little bit of bio. For those of you who've been a subscriber for a while, you know I did something, had a similar request back 3 or 4 months ago, so I did a little bit of my bio, and I can understand why you would want to know a little bit about me. That's certainly understandable. I understand why you're curious about that, and that's cool. I have no problem with anything like that. So I will Saturday's video, I will talk a little bit about my bio, and then hopefully just whatever breaking news might be happening on Saturday's video, and then we'll just keep moving on from there. So one of my subscribers, new subscribers, requested that. I realize I've gotten some new subscribers since the last time I did a video bio, so I'll be more than happy to do that. No problem with that whatsoever. I'm kind of a public person here in the city I live in, so it's not like it's a big secret who I am. I don't have any secrets or anything like that. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you Saturday. Y'all have a good night. Bye.